I'm Jonathan.
And I'm Sam.
And this is Progression in Progress. Sam, how you doing?
Doing pretty well. Another day, another dollar.
How many hours did you work today?
Just an average 8-hour day. Nothing special.
Nice. Target today? Oh shoot, am I allowed to say that? It's okay, I'll bleep it out.
Yeah. I think up to this point we haven't been specific at all, so probably
I'll
not.
bleep it out.
Yeah, it's all good.
How was your unspecific retail job?
It was fine. You know, retail is retail. It has its good and its bads throughout the entire day.
Good.
But yeah.
Good. I feel like we could do a whole podcast of me interviewing you about your retail job, but
probably. There's probably enough stories in the
when
past.
we run out of content here, we'll do that.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. So Sam and I have talked long and hard and is that even a phrase? Sam and I have talked long and hard about what we should talk about tonight. And we have decided that we're going to, how do I even describe this without saying it all? I don't know. Let's just jump into it, I guess.
Yeah.
Let me give the way back. Let me go way back to my birth. Just kidding, but not my birth. But I've kind of talked about this a little bit, not very specifically, but I was born with a health condition called osteogenesis imperfecta, and that causes me to have brittle bones. But that's not what we're talking about today. But rather, because of that, I really haven't been able to I've had to find different ways of entertainment. You know, when I was a kid, I really couldn't play a lot of sports. I couldn't do a ton of physical things. So video games have actually been a big part of my life. I think they've been a big part of my life because of that. Because when I was younger, that's what I did for entertainment, because that was something that I could do and that I enjoyed. And also that's just something everyone does. So it kind of worked out, you know, it all worked out. Now jump 15 years ahead to when I was 15 years old. I don't even know if it was exactly when I was 15 years old. I think it was like sophomore or junior year of high school. Still playing video games on the weekends. My parents never let me play during the weekdays because they wanted me to focus on school. In hindsight, 2020, I really appreciate that. But there was this one game that I played a lot when I was sophomore year, junior year of high school, called Overwatch. And I don't want to get super technical, super nerdy, because I really actually don't talk about video games a ton with my friends. But there are a few things that I've learned from playing this game that I feel like fits the progression and progress mindset. And Sam and I wanted to have a discussion about that today.
Yeah. And I think maybe just to start off, like I said, I don't have to get too into it, but I think we should basically just describe the kind of format the game is, or what it involves. So I guess I can kind of talk about that.
You got 30 seconds. Go.
Okay, cool. So Overwatch is I guess even saying class-based shooter or something is probably too technical. So it's a team objective-based shooter. Is that a way to describe it?
Yeah, no, that is. You got different. You know, it's you play on a team, you have a objective, and then there's different roles that you can play.
Yeah.
Is there anything you'd add to that?
No, that's pretty much it.
Okay,
in its basic form, yeah. Yeah,
so not to get too deep into it, because that's pretty boring. But I played this game probably for 2.5 years, you know, on and off, on the weekends, in the summer and stuff, you know, when I had time, when I wasn't busy with school. And there was one summer that I played where I significantly improved. I got the amount of my skill level jumped dramatically. And there was a few things that, you know, looking back on that experience, there was a few things that I can see that I did that really made that difference. And I don't want to talk about how that all relates to video games, because that's not what I want to talk about, rather, but I want to talk about how that could potentially relate to life. To the whole progression and progress mindset, and just in general, how you can move forward, how you can, I don't know. I just want to share this experience that I had, the things that I feel like I've learned that have helped me have some important perspective in my life that I feel like could be applied to other things, to different situations potentially. So the first big thing that I learned from this game, and this is kind of a throwback to last episode where we talked about controlling what you can. But the big thing I learned playing this team-based game is that you are the only constant in every situation. You know, unless you play with friends, it's a team-based game. There's no way to get around the fact that you're going to have to play with other people. And most of the time, unless, like I said, you're playing with a pre-built team, you're going to be playing with 5 random people. And it's very, very easy. It's a thing that I've seen. It's just part of, I don't know, playing video games, is that you blame your team. It's never your fault. You blame your team. But I think that really holds people back, 1, in video games, and 2, that mindset could potentially be holding people back in life. At least the way I view it. Obviously, there's so much nuance to every situation and to every scenario that it probably won't apply to every situation. But I think there's a lot of power in realizing that you are the only constant in every situation. And I feel like just trying to quickly apply that to life, sports, in every single play, every single, possession, you're the only thing that you have direct, like 100% direct control over. You have influence on other things, and that's important, but that's the only thing you have direct control over.
Yeah. I think especially with that sports analogy, I don't know if I'm getting ahead of myself or not, but the best sports teams are comprised of, a bunch of individually great players, not just a couple of good people and then the rest of them are just mediocre or whatever.
Yeah,
that's how you become the best. And that's all because they individually have strive to be the best that they can be. And then they help the whole team because of that.
I think you could definitely make the argument, and it's probably correct, that, the best team, the best cohesive team is going to win the championship. Mm-hmm. But I personally think that you're not going to get to that situation. You're not going to get on that championship team by I don't know. You're not going to get on that championship team because you were on other good teams, if that makes sense. Just because you played with a good team doesn't mean you will move up or you will advance or you will progress. I don't know. That's getting a little too technical, I feel like. But the point that I'm trying to make, the big point that I'm trying to make is that, you have the most impact. You can have the most impact by being the best you is I think the point I'm trying to make. You, going back to last episode, you control what you can. And I want to be very clear that I think it's very noble and very important that we try to fix the systems that we all partake in, if that makes sense. If we, whether that be, whatever system, that's a very broad word, whatever system you want to apply that to, I think it's very important and very noble. And I think we need to work to fix that system. But I think people can potentially run into problems when you let the problems with the system overweigh your own personal responsibility. Now, that doesn't apply to every situation.
Yeah. I think what you're trying, I guess to kind of give an example to that is, especially when put in the context of video games, it's very common to be playing something like this and you'll say, you'll do a certain attack or something and it doesn't do too much damage or whatever it is.
Or the game's trash. People will say the game's trash, the game is broken, or
the game is bad. Yeah. And so, okay, if the game was changed, then I would be good or something like that. And I think that's what, a lot of people just fight to change the actual system, or in this case, the game, instead of just improving themselves first. And those things could be important, definitely, and should be changed or can be changed. But I think what you're, kind of going, you gotta focus on being the best you first before tackling the system. Is that kind of?
Yeah, I think that's decently fair. I don't think it's unimportant to try to fix the system. I think it's very important to try to fix the system.
Mm-hmm.
But I think you can make the most personal progression in the short term. In the short term, I don't know, you can make the most personal progression in the short term that will affect your long term by looking at what you can do in that moment.
Yeah, definitely.
Because to put things in the video games perspective, if there's something wrong with a game, you got to fix that game. And in the long term, that's really going to matter. But I don't think it's and I think you should work to fix the system. But if you are ignoring your own personal responsibility in the situation, it's going to be a problem. I think we talked about this. I forget which episode this was, but I told a story about my ping pong paddle where it's like, it's like, okay, there are good ping pong paddles, and having a good ping pong paddle makes a difference, believe it or not. But if you don't have the ability to use that ping pong paddle, it doesn't matter if you have a trashy one or a good one.
Mm-hmm.
Is that making sense at all?
No, definitely. Like, you have to be the best that you can be before those other kind of factors will really even matter. Like, you have to be the best that you can be skill wise before some kind of change to, like a system or something.
What's the point of buying Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, what's the point of buying a weight set that has 100-pound weights and thinking that's going to make you better? But if you're still stuck on the 25 pounds, it's like eventually that 100 pounds is going to help you, or whatever weight it is, that's going to help you, but you got to get there first.
Yeah, definitely. It's all, you can't punch above your own weight before you're even there yet. It's all, you gotta progress to that point.
So yeah, so I feel like we're drifting away from the lesson that I learned, or I didn't make it. I feel like I need to make it clear the lesson that I learned. The lesson that I learned was that, okay, I'm playing this team game with a bunch of different people, and by analyzing how I played, the mistakes I made, the ways I could improve, I found that I improved significantly. I made significant improvements very quickly by focusing on what I could do. By focusing on what I could do in that moment, not by blaming my teammates. And I think we don't want to make it sound like teams aren't important, because teams are important, and you need teams to do things. I'm a big believer that, you got to have a team to, you probably could do it by yourself, but having a team definitely helps.
Yeah.
But part of that, this was kind of a nuanced thing. This is getting a little technical, so sorry about that. But in the game, a lot of people chose to avoid playing with random people and decided to build their own, what they call it, a stack. You have your own team. You choose, you group up as a team and play together. And I think that they took things into their own hand. Instead of leaving it up to chance, they surrounded themselves with good people. And I feel like that is part of taking things into your own hand and focusing on what you can do and taking control of what you can. What do you think?
Yeah. I mean, the more variables you can control, that you can make it more positive, then the better things can potentially be. But I also don't want to say that, just because you have a better team or the people that you surround yourself with are better, that doesn't take away at all from the fact that you still need to improve yourself. But yeah, I mean, if you have more like-minded people around you and you're doing more, you're working together more, then of course you'll do better. Like I was kind of thinking earlier when you're talking about just like improving yourself, like, and then how that can help the team more. Like I almost feel like there's like, maybe this is kind of outside the scope of the conversation, but I almost feel like there's two tier levels in a way to like improving, it's like first, or at least for some kind of team game, team sport, whatever it is, like first you have to improve yourself and you have to be the best that you can be. And then beyond that, it's then being cohesive with your team and actually being able to work together well. And so even if you're really great at communicating and, you know, getting plays and stuff done right, if you still can't, like, you know, if you still can't kick a soccer ball, then it doesn't matter how good you are at working with people, like you're still not going to do well. So you just have to have you got to be the best that you can be. And then you got to work with people that also have the same mindset as you and also have those base skills. And then when you collaborate and you work together and you do that effectively, that's how you achieve like true greatness in, you know, at least in these kinds of situations and pretty much in most things in life. Like, you know, most companies or most missions or objectives are not really done by one person. It's usually done by a group of people. And I think those same things kind of apply to that. The whole company is made out of a bunch of really talented individuals.
That's exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know if that was kind of a tangent or not, but
no, that was perfect. While you were talking, you just stole my thought. Dang it. I was going to say a great team is comprised of great individuals.
Yeah.
But you said it perfectly. So I don't need I need to go all out talking about that, but you can't have one without the other. Or it's like one's a precursor to the other. And I think you just explained that. One's a precursor. You can't have a great team without great individuals. Great teams are important, but you know, you can't come together as a team and be like, yo, the team sucks.
Yeah.
But then it's really like a team is comprised of individuals. And those individuals will have to make a change if they want to change the team.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it's like, I don't know, there's two sides to it because teams are so incredibly important, but also you can't force other people to do things. So you're going to have the most effect, in my opinion, by working on what you can control. And, you know, it might be what you can control is influencing your teammates.
Yeah.
That might be part of it. I think that's definitely part of it, but it's like, you can't be like, yo, why aren't you doing this? Why aren't you doing that? Rather I think you can have much more effect by being like, okay, what can I do? How can I make a difference? How can I help others?
Yeah. And I think, like, of course, I think we should all, like, especially if you're doing something as a team, that, you know, we should be looking at the team as a whole. As long as, like, you know, of course, it's not like we're not being like toxic or anything like that. You don't want to just be like ragging on everyone on the team for every little mistake that they've done or anything like that. But I think that there is, I think it's kind of like all of this. It's kind of like a two-way thing. Like, of course, we need to work as a team to be better, but also, like, we also got to look at ourselves and improve ourselves. It's, yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of nuance there. There's a lot of it's not so simple, and I'm glad that we get to talk about it in a slightly long form version of a podcast. I don't think it's too long, but hopefully it's not too long. But maybe it is too long, but it's not a 2-minute video or a headline or a tweet. So I'm glad we get to talk about it because there is some nuance to it. Okay, well, I guess the next thing that I learned while playing this game, looking back, one thing that I really learned how to do was I learned my win conditions. I learned what I needed to do, how I was going to have the most effect, what I needed to do to win. Because if within this game, there's different roles. There's attack, defense, support. They call it tank. You know, you're big and bulky and you make space and stuff like that. You know, and each of those ways, if you're playing a support character, you can't run to the front lines and kill everyone. That's not your job. Nor if you are an attack hero, can you sit in the very back and do nothing. You have to figure out what your win condition is. And that's one thing that I I really learned when I made that big jump, when I made that big improvement, looking back on it, I realized I figured out what my win conditions were, what I needed to do to see. This is going back to what we were just talking about. I figured out what I needed to do to help my team the most. It's
I think that kind of plays into like, I don't know if this is maybe too big of an idea, or it's like you have to play towards your own strengths in a way, and that will help the team the most. Then I guess you have to establish what your strengths are, and then use those as your, I guess you're calling them win conditions, but you have to execute on the things that you're best at, and that'll help the team the most.
Yeah. I guess. Well, yeah. I think one of the great things about Overwatch, there was a lot of people who complained about that game, but there was a lot of good things about that game as well. And I think there was a good thing is there were so many different options of styles that people had to play. There were some people who couldn't aim for their life, but were really good at the game because they chose what they could do, and then they mastered what they could do. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to be able to become a marathon sprinter, but who knows? I might be able to do. Hopefully, there's going to be something else I'll be able to do. Hopefully I'll figure that out. Hopefully rather sooner than later. But I'll be able to find something that I excel at, that I can specialize in, and not everyone is built for everything. So you have to figure out what your role is and what win conditions you can achieve best.
Yeah. Because once you figure that out, and then like once you figure out what you're good at, or at least what you're interested in, and you work on that more, then that's what's going to, get you to where you want to be the fastest or the quickest. Like, I don't know. I feel like it's almost kind of self-explanatory, so I don't know if I really can explain too much about it.
Yeah, and
more.
We're kind of getting on to a different topic, so maybe we should just keep it simple.
Yeah.
But those were the two big lessons that I learned from playing that game that I feel like I have taken and applied to other situations, not all, but other situations, some situations in my life that has helped me have some more clarity and realize how certain things, ways that I can progress personally, which I guess is the theme of this podcast, progression and progress. Realizing that I'm the only constant in every single situation in my life. And that, then I guess I learned some nuanced things about teams. And then the other big thing that I learned was that you have to find your win condition and, do your best to excel at your win condition. And that was how I made major improvement in this thing that is very trivial. In the long term, this video game is not important. But the things that I learned from it, which is what I wanted to share with everyone, what I wanted to share today on this podcast, I feel like they have made a difference in my perspective and just how I view certain things. And I think it's helped me kind of progress in life. And I'm definitely not, this is progression and progress. I'm definitely not done progressing, but I feel like it's helped me take some baby steps forward and realize that I'm not going to make that just by doing the opposite of what I talked about. There is progress to be had there, but I can make the most progress. It's like what is it? It's like, it's the most efficient way I see to make progress in the short term, I guess. Because going back, I do want to emphasize that, yes, it is important to fix the system and fight to fix the system, whatever that system may be. But personal responsibility is important too. You can't have one without the other. If you have a perfect system, but if you aren't putting in the work to make a benefit of that system, what's the point?
Yeah. And I think it's the overall kind of message is, it's all about self-improvement, and the better you can be, the more you can, provide, the more that you can give to the world and to teams and to society, just by being a better you. Yeah.
I don't know. I just had this thought, like, it's like, I'm not gonna go to class. I'm not gonna go to 4 years of school and just like osmosis everything and then become this, hotshot professional. There's gotta be work that I put in on my end. There's gotta be things I gotta do to make use of what's there. I don't know. I feel like I'm getting into something else, but that was just a thought that I had.
No, yeah. It's like you can't just, like, if you learn something but then don't do anything with it, then it's not really, it's kind of just useless. I mean, it's good that you know it, but if you don't do anything with it, then yeah, it's just, what was the point? You gotta take the tools and the opportunities that are given to you and make the most out of them, so then you can better yourself and then also be able to help others.
Yeah, we've talked about this before, but like the deck of cards analogy. And to bring it back, I think we talked about speed in the last episode. Speed, you're trying to place cards one higher, one lower than what's played on the table. And sometimes you're going to have some crappy cards, but in that moment, what's going to be most effective for you is to do what you can. Maybe if you got a messed up deck, you can work to fix that deck. But in that moment, the best thing that you can do is to play your hand and do what you can.
Yeah. Yeah, that's all. At the end of the day, it's kind of all you can do. Like, I mean, that's what we've been talking about. Like, you're the only constant thing. And as long as you're doing the best that you can do with the cards that you were dealt, then, I mean, that's all you can really ask for. And, the more that you do and the more you improve, then, the better the whole situation will be. And then you'll just be better off at the end of it all.
And then when you are fighting to improve the system, you'll be able to make better use of that system at that same time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, or you can better help to improve the system by being a better you.
True. Yeah. Well, I think we're running out of things to talk about. So I just want to throw in this disclaimer before we end the episode that, we're not perfect. We haven't figured this all out. There's a reason we named this Progression in Progress. And the goal of this podcast is just to have these discussions. And hopefully by us talking about these things, it can help you have that own personal spark where you realize, oh, this is something I could extract from this discussion and apply to my own personal situation. Because this might be a problem that we need to fix, but we are talking very much in generals. But that's the goal. We're not trying to tell you exactly what you need to do, and this is exactly how everything is, but rather this is our personal experience. This is my personal experience with playing a video game and what I've learned from it and how I've applied it to my own life, or how I've seen it, that mindset work in my own life. And hopefully there's something that you guys can take out of it and apply to your own life. So just a disclaimer that this isn't the end all be all. This isn't the one true doctrine, but rather just our personal experience and something that I wanted to share with everyone that has helped me.
Yeah. And I definitely echo that, of course. Just everything that we talk about, I especially, I feel like I'm very, very much a progression in progress, and hope these discussions help me a lot. Just kind of think about things that I want to do in my own life, and hopefully that also applies to all of you.
Awesome. Yeah. Well said. Okay. I think that's all we got today. Thank you so much for listening to another episode of Progression in Progress. As always, please let us know how we can improve, how we can progress in our ability to produce content and make a podcast. That'd be pretty awesome if we could have some feedback. But thank you for watching, and or not watching, for listening. We appreciate it. Have a good day. Love you all. Bye.
Bye.